Okay, so I think this is the best way to look at this in terms of the proof of work. So I'm going to give a bit of a big picture of what proof of work is, how it works, and then I'm going to give a golf analogy about it. So what is proof of work? Without getting too technical, mostly because I don't really understand the inner workings of it, and I don't think that the average person really needs to. And I've watched a lot of videos on it, and people try to go too far into it in terms of all the different phrases and terminologies and the technical part of it. And I just think it gets lost on most people. So if we look at this last block here, if we look at this last block, 846,355, this was the last block that was mined. And so that's how a new Bitcoin are created. Every time a new block is mined, new Bitcoin are created, and they're given to that miner who solved the block equation. And essentially what that means is when you solve a block equation, if you think about it, it's basically just a bunch of supercomputers trying to solve an equation. That's all it is. It's a bunch of supercomputers trying to solve an equation. And the first computer to solve that equation gets the block reward, gets to mine the block. So let's start with solving the equation. Very big picture here. The more energy, the more electricity you put into your computer, the more guesses that it can make, and the better chances that you're actually going to solve the block equation. Very simple. You got a slow computer over here. You can't make as many guesses. It takes less energy, but you can't make as many guesses. It's going to take longer, and it has very less odds of solving the block equation. A computer over here, brand new, very efficient. There's a ton of energy going into it. It's making a whole bunch of guesses every second. It has a much higher chance of guessing the equation and solving that block. That's all it is. And the more energy you put into it, the higher your chances are of solving that block. What happens to the block, or what happens to the miners when they actually do solve that block, is they get to compile it. They get to decide which transactions go into there. And if you actually drill into this block, 846,355, you can see all the transactions that are included with this. That's a lot of transactions. 5,800. I feel like that's higher than normal. But anyways, the miner, in this case, it was via BTC. They solve the equation. They get to decide what the block looks like. They get to design the block, and they get to decide which transactions go in that block. So you can see all these 5,802 transactions that go into it. So that's kind of what the proof of work is. That's what that's how the block rewards are done. That's how the new Bitcoins are created. And that is the proof of work, because the reason it's called proof of work is because you actually have to take real life energy. However you make that electricity, however you make that energy, it doesn't matter. But the more energy that you put into that, the higher the odds are that you're actually going to solve that block. So that's the proof of work. It ties the physical world to the digital world. And you think about printing money, you think about adding debt, it does not require any sort of energy. And that equation there, if you think about the energy going to it, that could be hydro energy, that could be flared gas, wasted flared gas, any sort of energy, volcanic energy. El Salvador actually mined 450 or 500 Bitcoin in the last 6 months using a volcano. So it's taking physical energy from the real world and it's turning it into digital energy in the digital world, where many people spend their lives now. So that's kind of like the very untechnical way to describe the proof of work protocol, how Bitcoins are mined. But now I want to give a golf analogy. And this is something I've been